Good evening. I feel like I need a stand for this. Make life so much easier.
Like it's a microphone.
Yeah, like a real microphone.
I just hope the magnets fall off right now.
I'm really good at this kind of stuff. Alright, cool. We wanted to start off tonight just running through what's been happening in the last 9 weeks of running Lift. And so as you can see, we'll post a picture up if you're online. But with the crew goals for 2015, what is going on, what's been happening, where we're heading. And so so we spoke about these are the main areas, and I will also elaborate on a few other things that we didn't mention. But yes, okay, so we'll start off, we were talking about lift groups, and our goal is to have one group for every 10 people that are attending on average on a Sunday. So at the moment, that would mean that we need at least 5 groups. And so what are we doing with that? Let us find out.
Let's reveal.
This is the hardest one. It's a different piece of paper. But, oh, look at that. Perfect.
Onto it.
So, what we're doing is that we're having training next week. Sorry, it's kind of rubbed off.
Finally.
It's next week.
It's next week.
Not this Friday.
Yeah, not this Friday. Next Friday. You're on band this week.
I can feel my age. All right.
But we are starting our live group training next week. We have a group of about, including us, I think about 12 of us.
Yes.
And we will be running a 4-week course. These guys are the guinea pigs to see what we need to cover and whether what else we'll need to cover for future training groups. But that will hopefully enable us to launch at least 4, if not more, next year in February. So that's not something that we can hit yet because we're not launching them till next year. But that's something, just to let you know, we are in the process of that. We value small groups. We really think that they're really important in the life of the church. But we are going through the process to ensure that we're starting them strong. We're just talking about it recently, and it's like if we just say, we need that, and we just launch it without any training, without any vision, without any goals, we could be shooting ourselves in the foot because the group structure might not suit what's happening at all in the life of the church. And so that is happening. We have actually chosen a group of people that we feel have the availability and the skill set necessary. We will keep training. We will need lots and lots of group leaders. But with our structure, group leaders are not always going to be on every single term. So we do need to make sure there's a nice big well of group leaders to draw from. So that's what's happening. Cool. So next thing that we want to see, I'm just going to pull it down. I'm probably going to pull off everything. Yeah. Perfect. All right. So we want a goal of $2,000 per week. PW means per week, for those who don't know. That's our goal. Right now, where we are at since the launch is $1,523.67. Very specific. So that is what we are getting per week at the moment. So you can see there's a bit of a difference. We're not really worried about that at all. But the thing that concerns us a little bit is that in September, so we're just finished with October, in September, the month before, we were averaging $1,523, wrong one. Sorry, in September we were averaging $1,637.50. And October we've actually dropped quite radically to $1,229.25. So it's a bit funny that it's kind of gone backwards, although maybe it's a part of having all the well wishes coming through in September, although we've still seen a lot of well wishes, but it's just different. So what we want to show here is that we want people to be praying with us. There's not a cause for concern, and God can provide finance from many different ways. Also pray for Beck and I, because we don't treat finances lightly. We don't want to ever put pressure on people to give. As you might know, there are some churches across the world right now that are having a lot of problems because finances haven't been done I guess, prudently and manage well. And so we want to be really careful about it. We don't want to be coming across as we need your money, because that's not true. God can provide in any way, shape or form. But we want people to understand the principle of the tithe. And we want to know how to present that well and not put it across as we need your money. If you want to be part of this, give us your money. So on saying that, our largest collection in a week since the biggest one was on Sunday since the launch. So we had $2,202, a lot of twos in that sum. And it was our largest. I think our launch was 2,300 and something. So it's actually a really good amount that we collected on Sunday. But one thing, if you are tithing into the house, you understand the tithe, that's something that you want to be participating in. Just help us out by making sure that it is as regular as possible. We understand people get paid fortnightly, monthly, weekly, whatever it is, but just help us out, because this month alone, it was something like we had, because of the carnival, we didn't have a collection on Sunday, and so it was 657 or something like that. Following week was like 1,200, and then it dropped down to 800, and then it was 2,200. And if we understand that the last week of every month is going to be nice and big, we're not going to be panicking through the month. But as you can be imagining with me, before Sunday, it was a bit of a God, yeah, don't make us too scared, please. And it's a faith journey for us, and it's good fun, but as you can understand, this is where we're at. It just helps us out to know and to be able to plan. So for example, with our Christmas on the Green event that we want to run, our finances up to that point will kind of determine what we're able to do. To wisely steward the amount of money that we have collected, and to make sure that we are able to run next year. So enough about finances. Any questions about that? All quite clear? Cool. So it's actually not that far off. It's actually quite okay where we're at right now. To give you an idea, that probably is just under a break even for all the expenditures that we do have. It's just under. 2,000 will give us a little bit over, so that we can start also giving out to different organisations, and we want to do that. We want to be a generous church, not just in ourselves, but outside. But that is probably just under what we would be spending on average. All right, and don't panic, because we do have savings. So we're not in the red. We are not in the red at all. We know where we're at, and we're doing good. But in that regard, for us to do more, we can do better. But not we can. It's so hard. It's not quite a we can do better. It's yeah, you understand? Yeah. I'm moving on. Cool. All right. So, I'm sorry, that got rounded off a little bit.
I thought it was 150. I was like.
All right. So we set up for our pop-up carnival that we ran. Oh gosh, close to 4 weeks ago. We set a target of 100 people per carnival and 2 families to check out our Sunday experience. We definitely smashed the first one. We had 450 in attendance over 3 carnivals, so the average is about 150. But so far, no families have come through yet. I'm still believing for that. We didn't set a time limit for that. We didn't say that exact Sunday. And from what we know, some people take 9 to 12 interactions, with the church before they're actually comfortable enough to come in. So if they came for 3 carnivals, I'm expecting that we knock 3 of those encounters off their list, and they are that much closer to coming to a place where they can encounter God. So that's where we're at. We're really, really happy with how that went. We really managed to have great interaction, and that number is just a number, but on the human side of things, we really built some great relationships, and really can't wait to see some of those families start to come through. So continue to pray with us in that, because you really do want to see those families come in through that. Christmas on the Green is going well. We've got the preparation phase happening right now. Oh no. Sorry, that's really rubbing everything off. We have already secured 1 band and something like 2 or 3 different food things. We are expecting another band and at least 1 or 2 more food things to be coming through. We're talking about food vans or coffee vans or dessert stalls and that kind of stuff. So we're going through the preparation to get all of that done. Our marketing would be in the works really soon, and this time around we've also decided that we're not going to do a big mail out again. We're going to make it more we get around to community groups and hand them some, and also do our area with what we did the last time. Just give us an opportunity to touch base with our community again. Don't want to do it the easy way. We do things the fun way. So that's Christmas on the Green. That's coming up December 13th. So just so that we know, we're talking about it. December 13th, we will not have a Sunday morning experience. We are closing that so that we can run this one event in the evening. It is completely just for the community to enjoy and to get into that Christmas spirit. Just coming around family. And so that should be lots and lots of fun. Should be really the atmosphere we want is chilled out. We're not going to be going for a carols feel. We're going more for a community picnic feel. So hopefully that makes sense. Any questions about Christmas on the Green? Because I know that we've been talking a lot about it, but not everyone will know about it. Find a seat. Do you want to say hi to YouTube world?
Oh, hello.
There you go. Cool. So there's Christmas on the Green. That's coming up in a month and a half. So Christmas is actually not far away. So really excited about that. So cool. We're moving on, and now we're going to be talking about our Sundays. So at the moment, what does that say? No. You need to learn patience. The fruit of the Spirit shall grow in you, bitch. Alright, so on our Sundays, over the last 4 weeks, we have cracked the 50. We're averaging 53.75 people over the last 4 weeks, which is really, really cool. Obviously, it was boosted by our very awesome baby dedication attendance numbers. So I know on Sunday we mentioned 71, but there was actually a couple that got left out of the count. So it was actually 73 on Sunday, which is just too short of our launch. So that shows you how far we've come. Just to give you a bit of an idea, right? Church groups, church planting groups, in what they're saying, a lot of them push for you to have a really big launch because they say you'll be doing really well to retain half of your launch. That's why they ask you to go all out and to get 150, 200 people at your launch to get that kind of numbers. But what we've seen with us is that the people that have come in that are not from other churches have really liked what we're doing. And so a lot of them have stayed on, and as the numbers show, 2 months in, we are at 2/3 of what we were at for our launch. Is fantastic. At the same time, it is still inflated by the Harvest Net, with a lot of people coming through. But one thing that really helps us to see how we're going is our city sign-ups. So our city sign-ups at this point is actually at 42 adults and 7 kids, which brings it to 49. Also, just to give you, I'm trying to lot of stats out. It's not all about stats, but I hope that you understand what this means. That's 49. We launched Live with 38 people, all up, including kids. And so that actually represents a 30+% growth in the last 8 weeks. For a wider view of what's happening in the church world, 7% growth over a whole year is seen as healthy growth. So right now we are in an acceleration mode, which is fantastic. God's bringing in workers. I know God hasn't really brought in a lot of the harvest yet, and we're really expecting that. We're really praying to that. But we've got a lot of workers. We've got people like Venny coming through. We're really excited. Nathan and Michelle, if you guys are listening online, welcome. We love you. So 49 on the city, and that, we know with the city we're not getting everyone on there. That shows people that want to be part of church and want to be informed, but also have the technological ability to make it happen. Just leave it at that. So 49 is a fantastic number. That's really good. We were talking about trying to make sure that we are retaining all of our visitors that are not from other churches, and I think that represents a very good indication of what we are actually doing. So yeah, that's that. And finally, the last one, which you completely wiped off the... Okay, so over the last 9 weeks, we have had 6 decisions for Christ. 4 adults and 2 kids. The 4 adults were rededications, as far as I know, and the 2 kids are first time, from what I do know. So that's really exciting, and that's fantastic that our kids has made such an impact so quickly, because our kids are only running for 3 weeks, if I'm not wrong. So yeah, that's really, really cool. So that is, 6 decisions over 9 weeks. Also, I was supposed to tell a little story of people wanting to come back, because one of the things that we did set as a crew goal was that we want to see people come back. Visitors coming back, and I think we've definitely seen it. One of the little stories that I heard over the weekend, which I think for me, it's just like, this shows what good what a good environment we're setting. But if you know Evelyn and her 2 sons, Joshua and Joseph, one of the things that Joshua does is that he does soccer on Sundays, and he's very competitive about it. He loves it, and that's why they were going to Life City on Saturday nights. And so it's going to be a difficult thing, because soccer season's not on yet. Soccer season starts winter, if I'm not wrong, coming into winter. And Joshua and Evelyn actually had a chat about it, and Joshua said, I'm happy to change teams so that I can be a part of this. So I'm really excited. I know that our guys have made a real effort to connect with those boys. And so that's fantastic. And then we've seen people like Jeevan come a couple of weeks, and not just that. So there's a whole spectrum. We've got families, we've got teens, we've got adults all coming through. So that all gives us a really good picture of where we're at. And probably a couple of things that Beck and I have on our heart. First one I haven't really spoken to about with Beck, but with the follow-ups of people, Beck and I have been making an effort to make sure we're catching up with every single person that wants to make Lift home. And so I think we've accomplished that more or less, catching up with every person at least once. And we've got on our radar those that we haven't managed to set up yet. But we do want to actually open it up to our team. This kind of catch up in pastoral care, because we don't have small groups, we actually do need it to be something that we all catch. Even with our small groups, because our small groups are going to be closed groups over the course of the term, that means that pastoral care really needs to be not just a small group thing. Our small groups captures people who are already locked into the family or are making some sort of commitment, but those that are going to have to wait 3 to 4, 3 months max, to join a a Lift group. Wrong name. A Lift group. We haven't said a lot of Lift groups yet, so I'm mixing myself up. And with Lift groups, we do need people to see that as, this is my responsibility, this is my family, this is someone that I'm going to connect with. So let's go put that out there. That's probably something we'll talk about down the track, because I think we're doing really well. I don't want to harp on it, but I just want everyone to know that catching up with a new person, helping them find connection in family, is all of our responsibilities. We don't have a guest lounge because we don't want to build a lazy culture where there's a team that is rostered on to love on our new people. That's all of our duty. That is something that we all can do well together. And so we hope that you catch our heart is not that we want to make things hard, but we really want care to come from an organic place, not a structured, I know at some point we will need to, just to make sure that we are covering ourselves. When we stop being able to notice every single person, we probably need to put staff members on and coordinators on it, all of that kind of stuff. But that's down the track. Right now, 50 people. We can do this, and we can do this well. So that's one thing that's on our heart. But the other thing that we've probably started to stir up in the life of Lift is that final column row. Oh, what's row? This final row. Sorry, I'm bad. Is that's okay for our start, but that cannot be where the average lies, I guess. 6 decisions over 9 weeks. Oh, sorry, for YouTube world, I can't see my hand. 6 decisions in 9 weeks is okay for where we're starting. We're trying to build a bit of momentum. But we really want to see non-Christians come into the church. Invitation, the invitation culture at Lift is something that we want to start to really explore. And it's something that we want to unpack, which is what we're going to be doing right now in the next 10 minutes, hopefully. And this invitation culture, one thing that we want to set first and foremost is that we don't want to be going around inviting people from other churches to be a part of Lift if they are already a part of a great place, a great culture. This is not one of those things where we find people who are busy because they all know all that stuff and will add to us. That's not the kind of heart we want. We want to have a heart for the whole church. The whole church body, we want everything to be functioning well. And so invitation is not for those people that are already locked in. I do understand that there are people that are moving into new seasons in life, and we can understand that part of things. But really our heart is for those who have never encountered God. What's the point of having another church if all we're doing is just shifting Christians around? That's pointless. There's no net growth. God's not like, wow, you got another Christian into your church. The Bible talks about how God celebrates. The whole of heaven celebrates when a lost sheep comes home. And a lost sheep is not a person who got lost going to their church and ended up at our doorway. It's not what's happening, alright? So I know we're making a bit of a joke about it, and we're not condemning anyone who's invited other Christians to come. We do love the well wishes. It's showing us that people do care about what we're doing, and that's fantastic. We thank them for coming, and they also give us great feedback about where we're at and what we can improve in. But really what we want to develop is I guess what we can call an invitational culture in our church, in the life of our church, where invitation is something that is normal, is a part of our life. It is ingrained into us. And so we want to unpack that. And a part of this is coming from a conversation Beck and I had last Thursday. We had a coffee with a church consultant. His name is Michael Harvey. And it was really eye-opening. He was saying that one of the big problems in our church, as in global church, is that 85 to 90% of the church will do absolutely nothing. I'm talking about Christians here. Will do nothing about inviting a non-Christian person. 85 to 90%. So in this room, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We probably don't have the person yet. In this room, all of us will probably do nothing. Absolutely nothing about reaching lost people. This is when he was talking about that stat, I was like, oh my gosh, that is actually something that's really scary. And especially when the Bible talks about us being a salt and light to the world, how are we doing that? How are we actually living out the call of God on our lives? And a call of God is not for us to live successful lives. We talk about that on Sunday because we're expecting non-Christians to be coming in, and we want them to see that with God life is so much better. But it's not about that success in your personal life. It's actually about being a witness. We've been called to make disciples of all nations. And maybe a part of the problem is that some of us have disconnected evangelism with discipleship. But if you see discipleship as taking a person one step closer to Christ, becoming more like Christ, then a non-Christian person needs to be discipled, and they haven't made that decision yet, maybe, but they are still needing someone to help them take one step closer. The Bible talks about how will they know unless someone tells them the good news. So we need to develop this culture. This is something that is essential to the life of the church. And the good news is that 70% of church-going Christians would like to do something about this idea of evangelism. 70% would like to. but 85 to 90% won't do anything. So there's obviously a bit of a disconnect going on, and that's what Michael was helping us to understand a little bit more about what's going on. And the big issue is that of fear, and particularly the fear of rejection. Most people, and maybe you're sitting in this room, is like, absolutely. Most of you would have, if you're talking about, inviting your friend, and let's set this definition first. Invitational culture is not about inviting people to church, but it's about inviting people to have an encounter with God. Whether it is through a coffee chat that you're having at some point outside of the church, that's cool. Or maybe some kind of seminar, or maybe some kind of movie that will have a gospel message attached to it. Or it's just building that relationship over time so that you're able to bring the gospel into the picture. All of those things are all necessary. We're not talking about bringing people into lift, even though we hope that that's going to be an outflow of that, because we want to be a healthy, grown church. But where was I at? When we talk about invitation, the biggest problem that people have is a fear of rejection. Really, it's a bit of a scary thought for a lot of people. And, when Michael was unpacking this, I was like, yeah, I understand the fear of rejection, but it's so illogical, isn't it? So what's the worst that could happen? If you look at worst case scenario, what could happen? The person says no, you get on with life. But one of the things that Michael was talking about that really hit home for me is that this social psychologist, they did a study on rejection, and they found that when people experience rejection, it lights up the same part of the brain as when you get a broken bone or when you get stabbed. It lights up the same kind of area in your brain. For you processing rejection, all of us processing rejection, it feels like you're getting something broken in you. It actually speaks volumes to you. And that's why we develop this fear of rejection. We don't, all of us as human beings, we don't like feeling pain. And so we do anything to walk away from that pain. And so it's understandable that we don't actually develop this courage to invite, because we don't want to be rejected. And that's a huge thing. And it can stem from so many different parts of your life. Maybe you've been rejected before, or maybe it's just the thought, or maybe it's the kind of self-worth that you developed in your life. And I'm not saying any of this to condemn anyone. That's not my point. But the understanding is this, that we as Christians, this is our mandate. This is our responsibility. And if we don't fulfill what we've been purposed to do, like we've been talking about on Sundays, then we're going to find an emptiness in ourselves. All of this Christian success, without seeing souls saved, will actually lead to an emptiness in itself as well. Because we are meant to be reproducing. The whole idea of having fruit is that fruit reproduces. I love this when we were talking about it at Bible study last week. It's like, what is fruit? When the Bible says you must have fruit to show that you are a good tree, what does fruit mean? Fruit doesn't mean I have love, joy, peace, etc., even though that's necessary as part of our lives. But fruit really is for the purpose of reproduction. If you don't have fruit, you don't have a new tree. And so the whole point of us in our Christian walk is to actually expand the kingdom, be God's hands and feet, and see that happen. And that's what we've been created to do. There's a lot of different facets. We can go on to that and can understand that it's not always through you sitting in front of a person and sharing the gospel story. And for many of us, we've probably at some point reaped the benefits of other people's hard work, but we also need to learn how to do the hard work of breaking down the barriers for people. Like we mentioned already, some people take 9, 12 invitations, encounters, before they actually step foot into a church. So what are you going to do about that? And how do we overcome this fear of rejection? I've come up with a few things that we want to talk about really quickly, because I've totally run out of time. But I think number one is to expect rejection. I think the stat is that you will be rejected 90% of the time. 90%. So if you invite 10 people, you will probably get 1 yes and 9 no's. So we got to get used to that. Jesus said that persecution will come. And our modern day persecution might not be in this part of the world, a gun to the head or a knife to the throat. But it's probably a feeling or a rejection of your identity and your belief system. It's a belittling of who we actually think we are. That's the major persecution that we're coming under. Most non-Christians think that Christianity is this fairy tale. We know better, but people interact with us as though we're morons. We got this weird warped sense of the world. And so, yeah, there's rejection, there's persecution in that regard for our beliefs and what we want to stand for. But Jesus also said that if you identify with me, there's great treasure in heaven. That's something that we need to be looking into, past the fear, past the rejection, into the purposes that is what God called us for. Peace, joy, all of that in the Bible is often in the context of great persecution. With great persecution, you will experience joy. Great persecution, you will experience peace. Maybe in your life, and maybe not for anyone here, but maybe someone else is hearing this, maybe you're not experiencing peace and joy because you're not willing to walk through the fear in order to get over to the other side. Does that make sense? Yeah. So there will be persecution, and we need to get used to it. And I don't mean to minimize that emotion of rejection. We have to get over it. We actually do, if we are to find the purposes of our life. Next thing is that we need to understand that the rewards will outweigh the cost. Yeah. The whole of heaven rejoices. We talked about that already. And so remember what you're doing this for. It's not for you to feel comfortable. Oh, I completely forgot about my analogy. But I was going to ask you, how many of you, before talking about all that stuff about evangelism, would actually say, I would do anything to see someone saved? My friend, my loved one. I think most people in the room say, I would do anything. And then the question is like, invite them. No. It's like, why is there a disconnect? You know that their eternal soul is at stake. It's at stake. It's at stake. It's at stake. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry about this. Their eternity is on the line. And when you see someone that is about to get their head chopped off and you can do something about it, you would. So why are we not doing something about someone's eternity and their soul? And I'm not trying to condemn anyone. This is something that I'm, having to relearn and rethink about all of these things as well. But the rewards will far outweigh the cost. We will get rejected many times. But that one yes, that 10% is so much more worth it than the 9 rejections we're going to go through. So that's the second thing. The third thing is to get accountability. In many other walks of our parts of our life, we get accountability. We get accountability with our finances. We get accountability with our purity. We get accountability in our relationships. But when it comes to evangelism, it's like we've never thought of accountability. And this is something that has shown to be so effective in other areas of life. And so maybe we need to just start to hold each other accountable. Not in a crazy, scary way, but in a way that's like, hey, can you just make sure that you check in on me on whether I have contacted that person that I said I was going to. Maybe we start doing that with one another. We would actually start to see you getting your butt in gear. And the final thing, and that comes very closely to accountability, because we don't want anyone here in holding people accountable to become Nazis about it, but we need to be okay with rejections. We need to be okay with what we perceive as failures. Because that's part of the problem. Part of the problem is that because we have experienced failures by such a success-driven culture, that it's like, I'm not good at that. I'm not called to do that. But the Bible says for all of us to do the work of the evangelists. There's some people that would see miracles happen and doors open for them, and you're like, I want that. And you're the one that instead of 10% success rate, you got 1%, and you're like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't do this is just not me. But we're all called to do it, and we need to get familiar with failure and to be okay with that. And one of the things about life in general is that failure is where you learn. You don't learn if you don't have failures. So some of you are not really good evangelists yet, but maybe some of you in this room and who are listening to this are called to be evangelists, but because of your fear, you haven't gone through your learning enough to actually develop that gift that God has placed in your life. And so it might be something that we need to learn how to encourage each other in. We talk about the stories on a Sunday about this person that's seen massive breakthrough in the person they've been talking to. We clap and we raise our hands and say, well done. And then for everyone else that tried that week but absolutely failed, it's this silent thing that we don't even talk about. But maybe we actually start saying and start getting accountable to one another and say, hey man, I tried. I say, good, you did something this week. You tried today. And maybe it's one of those 9, 10, 11 times that that person will need an invitation and you are doing something about that. If we start making failure a success as well, maybe we're going to see this become a part of our culture.
Yeah.
And this is something that we all need to do. This is something that challenges me. But when I was listening to Michael and I was preparing this for tonight, I realized that I'm not as bad as I was thinking I was. Because I have had conversations with people. I have invited people. But we're so ingrained into our minds that invitation is only an invitation if you see success. But that's not the case at all. I had an amazing conversation with one of my uni friends last year over a coffee, talking about gay marriage, talking about eternal life. She is not ready and might not be ready for many years, but I had a conversation with her and I showed her that I'm willing to not condemn her and talk to her. I'm going to her party next weekend. She's turning 26 and she's having a fairy party. And it's funny, it's weird, but I getting invited to a friend I have not gone to class with for something like, oh gosh, no, not 10 years, but probably about 6 years. We finished uni 6 years ago, but she's still keeping in touch with me. She considers me one of her friends, and that's a great success. And I have spoken to her about God. She's actually come to Centrepoint before. And there are other people that I've invited. And so let's make inviting normal, organic, part of life. We're not asking you to go to extremes. There have been stories of churches that get you to sit down and go through your phone and call every person. That's not what we're talking about. That's absolutely not what we're talking about. But we're talking about you being activated to do the work of the evangelist as the Bible commands. Be wise. Win friends. That's what we're talking about. Go buy someone dinner or buy them a coffee in the hopes that one day there will be an opening to invite them into a place of encounter. Whether that's here, whether that's somewhere else, doesn't matter. We're talking about kingdom here. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So tonight, the rest of tonight, what we're going to do is this. And for you in the online world, I would ask that you take 15 minutes at some point in your week to do this. But we're going to pray, all of us, and we're going to ask corporately, and I'll do that. We'll get Mitch and the guitar up really soon, and we're going to pray that God's going to drop a name onto your heart. From there, receive that name. And if you want to have accountability of yourself, maybe write that name down if you want to. And if you don't get a name, that's okay. You're making yourself available. That's a great thing. Maybe you never thought about this before. And that's great that you're taking these steps, one step closer. And so if God puts a name on your heart, fantastic. If God doesn't put the name on your heart, fantastic. But what I would suggest, if you don't have a name, continue to pray. What's wrong with allowing God to drop a person on your heart, to be available for that person? And so after that name, we are going to, after you get that name, what we're going to do is that we're going to, just through this time, we're going to pray with that person. And we're going to have a bit of a time of worship ourselves. And then from there, we're going to break off into little groups. Maybe in pairs, maybe in threes, depending on how things work out. And what I want you to do is to tell the person you're with, who is it that God's put on your heart and what you're going to do about it. Maybe this Sunday the panel would be a great opportunity to invite them to. Fantastic. But if you feel, no, I want to go invite them for a coffee first, that's fine. But what is your plan of action? I've already got 2 names. I've already messaged one person to come to this Sunday. It was done on Facebook, so I know that he's read the message, but there's no reply. So, hey, I got rejected. I don't actually have his phone number, so there's the only way I could contact him. But that's okay. You know, that's fine. The other person that I want to invite is Mike McLeod, our sitting rooms manager. I really want to see, just keep chipping away. I've invited him to a couple of things and he's like, oh, you don't have to. But I wanted to know that this one is like, I want you to. And so we'll see where that goes. He's probably going to knock me back. And I'm going to be fine with it. It's probably going to take 10 times with him. That's fine. I'm willing and I'm ready to get knocked back 9 times. So yeah, talk to this, who are you going to, talk to the person that you're with, who you're going to invite, what you're going to invite them to, when you're going to do it, and then from there put it in your diary. So you are going to do it, because you walk out of here, you're going to have life crash over you, and because we've never made this a priority. It's true. Most of us, 80% of us, maybe even 90% of us, would never make something like this a priority in our life. It's fact. I'm not condemning anyone, but we're trying to turn this culture around in our church, and it starts with this team. And then I believe that if we get this going well, it's going to spread. And then the 6 out of 6 decisions in 9 weeks is going to be the lowest in the whole life of our church. I really believe that Lift has been called to really bring a lift to the community. That's what we want to see, and that's only possible. We don't want superficial change. We want a heart change. We want God to be able to bring healing and wholeness to people. So let's do that. YouTube world, thank you for listening in. Sorry it went on a bit longer tonight. We love you. Go pray. Have that name. Talk to someone on Sunday to say you're going to invite. Fantastic. We'll see you later.